So this is Arrowhead Ridge. This is a project based in Saugerties, New York. It's a 6 acre lot. It was part of probably like a 10 lot subdivision where every lot was already had the basics of a rough driveway. And I think electric was like nearby, but everything still needed septic and well and all those things. So it was like relatively build ready. But yeah, I'll just go through a couple series of images to zoom in. So yeah, we're located fairly close to the Hudson River, like I said, in Saugerties, pretty close to Kingston, right across the river to Rhinebeck, about 2.5 hours or so to New York City. So overall, pretty good location. And where they're located is about 15 minutes or so north of like downtown, like Saugerties and all these other little towns nearby. So it's very accessible in terms of seeing a lot like this where it's very wooded. They're very close to Saugerties and Kingston and all these really nice towns that they can see and experience a lot of things, where I feel like a lot of the projects we do are very much in the middle of nowhere. So that's one unique thing about this lot in general. But yeah, you can see, yeah, Rhinebeck's literally just over the river here. So here is the lot that we're working on right along Arrowhead Ridge Road, 6 acre lot. Like I said, pretty much fully wooded. There was like a couple open spots in general, but they did have a rough-in driveway, and apparently it used to be part of an old tree logging road. So that's what was currently existing on the property as when the clients bought it. So I think during some of the first initial presentations, like we typically do, go through some site planning analysis, it was pretty clear where the views were, and it was basically along the ridge line. So I think Arrowhead Ridge is definitely appropriately named, and specifically on their site, they actually had one of the highest points in the entire subdivision. So this definitely became a point of interest and kind of an area that I think would ultimately become, which is now today, the build site. So yeah, I think it was pretty clear there was this ridge line that was cutting through majority of their lot and really trying to take advantage of the views just beyond. And behind them, they actually have, it's all like basically just like wetlands essentially. So no one really would be building back there. So it's really private in terms of where they're located, which is really nice. The other unique feature about this lot, there's a lot of really large rock outcroppings that really much define the nature of the site. And it's something that you can see as soon as you get on site, and kind of at ground level, it's pretty clear where everything is, but just highlighting like centrally where all these rock outcroppings were. So we try to use that as a feature. You can see some of the larger images here. This is at eye height. So yeah, some of these are like 6 feet, 7 feet tall, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, so here's this original logging road that I think the idea was in the very beginning to take advantage of that. It was already cleared. It was like already roughed in. So that was like the initial starting point, is using that. So we don't really have to use that much of the budget in terms of groundwork costs and whatnot. So I think that was pretty clear as a starting point, and started to identify a couple of build areas based on the initial site visits. So I think the first one was closer to the road, right off the logging entrance, and then one maybe a little bit more tucked away, higher up on the ridge. Obviously would need a further driveway, like slightly different approach in terms of how to build, but both of which have the same character of being on top of the ridge. So I think that was like the defining part of sort of these initial discoveries. So in the process, came up with a couple of different site planning strategies. And so for this project, it is a full-time home for the clients and their kids. And they would be moving out of state to here and basically like moving full time. And the idea with this one is it would be a 3-bed, 2.5 bath house, in which case the big L kind of fit that description really well. So that was one of the first starting points. The other part of this project is they really wanted to get a carport, and they also wanted to get an ADU for family. So when they come in, mom, dad, uncles, cousins, sisters, anyone coming through would have their own space with their own kitchenette, their own bathroom. So that was really important to the clients as well. So we're really looking at 3 different buildings. So yeah, here's just a couple different strategies, how they tie together. So you'd come through, park at the carport, walk through to the big L, in which case the views are located, as we mentioned in the previous slide, like in this easterly direction. And then maybe an ADU sort of tucked away in the distance, a little privacy, but still direct to the main house. So This is where we ended up with the project. I think in general, this is our standard Big L. And I think there was like a few really small changes. Like now looking at like our standard Big L and what is actually being built, they stayed pretty true to the standards. Really, the only thing that we did is move the bedrooms and the hallway and basically flipped it. So now the hallway itself is along the same side as this entrance sequence here. And then instead of entering on this northern side of the drawing, we actually are entering on the south side. And then we added a deck on the back side. So there's really three or four changes. Everything else, though, like proportions of rooms, the office location, all the bathroom locations, everything else relatively stayed the same. And then we got to spend a lot of time working through the details of interior design, bathroom layout, all the different finish and fixture selections. And now Spencer is actually working with our clients on furniture selection as well. So really all the way from the beginning to a raw property, all the way through to deciding on furniture with these clients has been a pretty rewarding experience. Yeah, here's one of our ADUs that got slightly modified. We were able to move like a small full-size bed, little nightstands on each side, and then have a very tiny full shower as well. That was like a pretty key feature that they wanted to have instead of just a standard wet room. And then, yeah, these were some initial studies that we were looking at. They wanted to have sort of the darker finishes on the outside, standing seam metal roof, black wood vertical siding, black windows, black doors. And this is actually exactly what ended up being selected. So really nothing got value engineered out of this project. Instead, we were working through, instead of using some companies, for example, the window and door package came in a little bit high. So we were starting to evaluate keeping the look, but then looking at different companies. So we didn't take anything away, but rather looked at other options to see how we can still fit in the budget and see if we can still match the aesthetic that they're looking for. So in general, it's like interesting to see some of these original photos from the beginning and kind of some of the ones that I'll show you guys in a minute, but it looks pretty similar to what we're working with now. And eventually got to a point where now the carport, the ADU, and then the main house are like in this triangular format with the house along the highest point on the ridge, and then the garage and the ADU just downhill a little bit. But it does create a little bit of kind of like a several buildings coming together and just creating like one centralized area on the site, which feels really nice. So yeah, here's one of the original site plans we put together, and it's fairly close to what's being built now. In the field, there was it's a very tight lot to begin with. So to actually build this size house and ADU and carport and the septic field all within a really small pocket of space where we cleared very minimal amount of trees has been not necessarily an issue, but it's more of just a phasing thing. So we're able to build the main house first, and now we're at a point where we are at interiors on the inside. They're already starting to do painting. And then on the outside, we're now starting to work on the carport and the ADU with foundations being poured, and they're starting framing pretty soon. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting to see how the general contractor is able to work on, I would say, maybe a slightly larger project, considering it's three separate buildings in such a small pocket of space, and still being able to make things work pretty quickly. So that's, I think, been a fun experience to be a part of as well. So yeah, just a couple more images here, and then I'll use these as reference. Yeah, here's that hallway I was mentioning before where we flip things, entrance sequence, and then we have the deck along the back side here. So this is exactly how it's been built today. Small little ADU with a little deck. So just for reference, some of these photos, like basically everything happened within the last couple of months. Like basically since the summer is when they started to break ground. So these are some initial excavation photos back in July. So excavation and basically getting the rat slab poured and crawl space poured. So using this as a reference to where we're at today, it's pretty impressive how quickly we're moving on this project. So yeah, this was only less than 5 months ago at this point. Yeah, we're doing our standard kind of 4-foot crawl space here, starting to get framed up here. Subfloors down by August. Let's move to September. And now at this point, just between July 23rd and now September 17th, so less than 2 months, it's already framed up, it's already sheathed, it's already been taped, and windows and doors are already installed. So it's pretty amazing within a 2-month period what happened on this site. It's moving really quickly. And in general, I think the site has always been kept in really good conditions. It's been relatively clean overall. And you can see, yeah, some of the decks starting to get set on the backside here. Really nice. This is about a 90-foot deck for reference. So there's plenty of space here. They want to design it and have a couple pockets of space, like a little area to sit, like a little dining room table, little fire pit area. So there's plenty of space here, and it's all accessible through, there's about 3 sliding glass doors on the back here. And then let's fast forward to about a month later in October. And at this point, the roof's already on, skylights are on, and they're starting to do all the rough-ins are done at this point. So all electrical, plumbing, and HVAC are done at this point. And we're already starting to get the sprayed in foam insulation. So you can see, yeah, now within a 3-month period, we're already fully weather tight and fully insulated. So yeah, pretty quick process on this one. And now zoom through to probably one of our more recent site visits. I think, Spencer, this might have been the time that you went up there. But yeah, here's a couple aerial images from up above. Drywall's up at this point, all tape and spackle. So yeah, it's been really quick. And yeah, here's just a couple of images. This is the carport, starting to set the slab for that. This is a little cross or a slab on grade here. So yeah, we're at the point now where basically there's already primed and painted the ceiling and all the walls. The clients are actually moving up on Saturday and Sunday to meet with the contractor and basically going to pick some paint samples. So there's the contractor is painting like 4 or 5 different samples on the walls. They'll actually start to paint the walls after that. Wood's already there. Tile's going to be delivered soon. And then the wood siding actually just got delivered, I think 2 days ago. So that is something else that they're going to start to be putting up soon as well. Then in the background, as they're doing like siding and some like interior work on the main house, they'll be working on framing and doing all of the exterior work on the carport and the ADU. So some people will be inside, some people will be outside. So it'll be a busy site over the next couple of months. But I think in general, considering the scope of the project, it's been pretty quick comparatively speaking to some other projects. So I think that's like the one highlight I would say on this project, just like how quickly we're moving through things. It's also nice working with clients who are very decisive and are able to like work through decisions with us as the design team and then with the general contractor. So we meet once a week, every single week, always have an agenda and kind of always have some type of decision point that's being made. And I think that's definitely been like one really helpful thing on this project. But it definitely, it goes to show like, yeah, if you're able to make decisions relatively quickly, it helps everyone out, including the contractor, their subs, the project schedule. I think in general, things tend to be relatively smooth when stuff like that happens. So yeah, this is Arrowhead Ridge.
This is awesome. Sean, when is it expected to be completed and ready for the clients to start moving in?
They're expecting early spring. I'm currently pushing them on we have a schedule up until like basically like maybe 2 more weeks from now, up until Christmas. So the next part is getting them to put together a schedule through the end of construction. But right now they're estimated probably around the beginning of spring would be a goal.
Amazing.
So basically for a 3-bed, 2.5-bath house at roughly probably like 1,800 square feet, 2-car carport, and then a ADU that technically could sleep like probably 6 people. There's space for up top in the loft and then a full designated bedroom on the ground floor. But basically from ground break to turning over the keys, it will be less than a year for sure. It'll be probably like 9 months, which is pretty impressive.
Nice.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Actually, I hadn't seen those most recent pictures. It looks really good.
Yeah. And then I think one thing that's also been helpful, and I wouldn't necessarily like recommend this for everyone or every project or every client, but the one thing that we've been doing on the side is I'm in a group chat with me, the clients, and the contractor. And that's also been like a really good communication format. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we will have still on what's called on email, but sometimes just like a really quick thing. Hey, there's an inspector coming tomorrow for like bank purposes and the bank draw. And it like I'm a part of that conversation too. So I see like when people are coming, when the draw schedule is happening, when things are being invoiced. even down to just like little sketches that the client makes, sends over, and was, hey, what do you guys think about this? Should we do this or should we not? So that's been, I would say, pretty helpful too, because it just keeps communications up. And the other thing that the contractor's been doing that's been helpful is he'll just send a couple of like walkthrough videos himself on
Mhm.
site, typically like once a week. Normally it's on Fridays, he'll send them out. And it's just like him walking around, like saying, hey, here are the things that we've done. Check out this room, check out this room. This is what we're doing next week. I would say communication on this project has been pretty impressive from the client side as well. I think they're definitely
I was gonna say,
part of
not
that.
every client or every GC do you want to be in a group message with.
No, and that I was
One of the
pretty
good ones.
hesitant at first, but I think for
Mhm.
this group of project, I would say it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, for sure, because the clients are like very like respectful of time.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. This one also is so impressive because you jumped into it when it was already in progress and took over the project. And to be honest with you, like at that moment, there was some kind of like shakiness in the project.
Oh,
And you were really able to come in and take it over and set them on an awesome path. And I think one of our most smooth projects.
yeah. I think Spencer can attest to this too. But yeah, the clients in general are dynamite. They're
Oh yeah,
awesome.
they're the best. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, of course.
That
I
was
think it worked.
perfect.